History is a tapestry woven with threads of ambition, loyalty, and, perhaps most dramatically, betrayal. Some of the most earth-shattering moments in the rise and fall of empires began not with armies clashing on the battlefield, but with whispered words behind closed doors, daggers in the dark, and trust shattered in the blink of an eye. Welcome to History Owl, where today we unravel the chilling tales of history's greatest betrayals. Acts so shocking, they changed the fate of empires and reshaped the world as we know it. Betrayal. The very word conjures images of broken oaths, secret plots, and the sudden, gut-wrenching realization that an ally has become an enemy. But why does this theme echo across the centuries? Because betrayal is universal, inevitable, and, as we'll see, often the catalyst for seismic historical change. Some betrayals are driven by greed, others by love, desperation, or the unquenchable thirst for power. But all share one common thread. A moment when trust is shattered and the world is never the same again. Let's begin in the ancient world, where one of history's most infamous betrayals took place, the Ides of March, 44 BCE. Julius Caesar, conqueror, reformer, and self-declared dictator for life, walks confidently into the Senate. What he doesn't know is that among the senators are men he calls friends, men he trusts. Chief among them is Marcus Junius Brutus, the man Caesar reputedly regarded almost as a son. The conspiracy against Caesar was born out of fear. Many senators believed Caesar's power threatened the very foundation of the Roman Republic. But it wasn't just political idealism that drove the plotters. Ambition, personal grievances, and jealousy festered beneath the surface. On that fateful day, Caesar was surrounded and stabbed 23 times. According to legend, his final words, "Et tu, Brute," were uttered in disbelief as he recognized Brutus among his attackers. The ramifications were immediate and profound. Instead of saving the Republic, the assassination plunged Rome into chaos and civil war. Far from curbing tyranny, the betrayal led to the rise of Augustus and the birth of the Roman Empire. Caesar's death is a stark reminder that even those closest to us can become instruments of our downfall, and that the consequences of betrayal can echo for centuries. Fast forward over 1,000 years, and we find ourselves in the shadowy corridors of Constantinople. The Byzantine Empire, guardian of Roman legacy, is on the brink. It's 1453, and the mighty city, once thought impregnable, is besieged by the Ottoman Turks under Sultan Mehmed II. For 53 days, the defenders hold out valiantly, their faith in their walls and each other unbroken. But all it takes is one act of betrayal to bring an empire to its knees. The legend goes that a small postern gate, known as the Kirkoporta, was left unlocked, some say due to oversight, others whisper of deliberate betrayal by someone within the city. Ottoman troops pour through the gap, and Constantinople falls. The Byzantine Empire, which had stood for over 1,000 years, is no more. The city is transformed, its churches become mosques, and the world enters a new age. Here, the betrayal is not just personal but civilizational. A moment when a forgotten or forsaken keyhole altered the course of Eastern and Western history forever. But not all betrayals are the stuff of legend and rumor. Some leave a paper trail, evidence so damning it sends shockwaves through courts and kingdoms. Let's turn to the court of England in the 16th century, a stage for intrigue, ambition, and the sharpest of betrayals. Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII, was many things: queen, reformer, and the mother of the future Elizabeth I. But to her enemies, she was a threat to be eliminated. In the spring of 1536, Anne was arrested on charges of adultery, incest, and treason. The evidence was flimsy, the witnesses coerced, and the trial a foregone conclusion. But the real betrayal came from within her own circle. Sir Thomas Cromwell, Henry's chief minister and once Anne's ally, orchestrated her downfall to secure his own position and curry favor with the king. Even her brother, George Boleyn, was swept up in the charges. Anne's execution sent ripples through Europe. It not only changed the succession of the English throne but also set a precedent for the ruthless elimination of political rivals. The betrayal of Anne Boleyn is a chilling reminder that in the halls of power, allies can swiftly become enemies, and that the cost of betrayal is often paid in blood. Moving eastward, we encounter another betrayal that toppled a dynasty and changed the course of Chinese history: the fall of the Ming dynasty. The Ming, renowned for their cultural and technological achievements, faced mounting internal strife and external threats in the 17th century. But the final blow came not from invading Manchu armies, but from within. Li Zicheng, a former postal worker turned rebel leader, led a massive peasant uprising against the Ming regime. As his forces approached Beijing in 1644, the Ming general Wu Sangui faced a dire choice: resist the rebels or seek help. In a desperate gamble, Wu opened the gates of the Great Wall to the Manchu armies, inviting them to help crush Li Zicheng's revolt. The Manchus, however, had their own ambitions. They swept through China, established the Qing dynasty, and ruled for nearly 3 centuries. Wu Sangui's betrayal is one of the most consequential in Asian history. By choosing short-term security over loyalty to his own dynasty, he unwittingly handed China to foreign conquerors. It's a story that resonates through the ages: the dangers of trusting outsiders, and the unpredictable consequences of betrayal, even when it seems like the only option. Let's now cross oceans and centuries to the Americas, where betrayal played a pivotal role in the fate of entire civilizations. Few stories are as haunting as the fall of the Aztec Empire, brought about by both foreign invaders and internal treachery. In 1519, Hernán Cortés arrived on the shores of Mexico with a small band of conquistadors. Facing overwhelming odds, Cortés knew he needed allies. He found them among the Tlaxcalans and other peoples subjugated by the Aztecs, who saw in Cortés a chance to topple their hated rulers. But the most famous betrayal came from within the Aztec court itself. La Malinche, a Nahua woman who became Cortés's interpreter, advisor, and, some say, lover, played a crucial role. She helped the Spaniards navigate the complex political landscape and ultimately facilitated their conquest of Tenochtitlan. Today, opinions about La Malinche are deeply divided. Some see her as a traitor to her people, others as a survivor making the best of impossible circumstances. Regardless, the betrayal, whether through alliance or information, was decisive. The Aztec Empire crumbled, and a new era began in the Americas, marked by colonization, cultural upheaval, and the birth of a new world. The story of La Malinche reminds us that betrayal is often painted in shades of gray, its motives and consequences endlessly debated by historians. Turning back to Europe, let's examine a betrayal that reverberated across the continent and shaped the destiny of nations: the treachery of Charles V and the sack of Rome in 1527. The Holy Roman Empire, locked in conflict with France and the papacy, found itself in dire financial straits. Charles V's troops, unpaid, hungry, and desperate, marched on Rome under the command of Charles de Bourbon. The Pope, Clement VII, believed the traditional bonds of Christianity would protect him, but he was wrong. On May 6, imperial troops stormed Rome, looting, murdering, and desecrating the Holy City. The betrayal here was layered. Charles V, a Catholic monarch, allowed his forces to sack the spiritual heart of Christendom to further his political aims. The event shattered the Renaissance world, weakened the papacy, and signaled a shift in European power dynamics. Betrayal in this case was not a single act, but a series of broken promises and shifting allegiances, a reminder that in times of crisis, moral lines can blur and the unthinkable can become reality. But betrayal is not confined to the courts of kings and the clash of empires. Sometimes, it strikes at the very heart of revolutionary ideals. The story of Benedict Arnold, the infamous traitor of the American Revolution, is a case in point. Arnold was once a hero of the Patriot cause, celebrated for his daring exploits at Fort Ticonderoga and the Battle of Saratoga. Yet, feeling underappreciated and heavily in debt, he began secret negotiations with the British. His plan was audacious: surrender the strategic fortress of West Point in exchange for money and a commission in the British Army. Arnold's plot was uncovered at the last moment, thanks to the capture of British Major John Andre. Arnold escaped to British lines, but his name became synonymous with treason in American lore. The betrayal stung deeply, a reminder that the struggle for independence was as much a battle of loyalty as it was of arms. The legacy of Benedict Arnold endures as a cautionary tale. Even patriots can be seduced by personal gain, and the price of betrayal is eternal infamy. Moving into the 20th century, the stakes of betrayal escalated to a global scale. The story of Kim Philby, the British intelligence officer who spied for the Soviet Union, reveals how trust can be weaponized in the shadowy world of espionage. Philby, a member of the so-called Cambridge Five, rose through the ranks of MI6, all the while passing secrets to Moscow. For decades, he outmaneuvered suspicion, using his charm and connections to deflect scrutiny. His betrayal was not just of colleagues, but of entire nations. Hundreds of agents' lives were compromised, and the balance of power in the Cold War was subtly but profoundly affected. When Philby defected to the Soviet Union in 1963, the shockwaves rippled through the British establishment. The case exposed vulnerabilities at the highest levels and forever changed the way intelligence agencies operated. Philby's story is a modern reminder that the most dangerous betrayals often come from those we trust the most. But perhaps the most tragic betrayals are those that turn family members against each other, fracturing not just empires, but the bonds of blood. Consider the fate of Tsar Nicholas II and the Romanov dynasty. During the Russian Revolution of 1917, the Romanovs were placed under house arrest, their fate hanging in the balance as revolution swept the country. The final betrayal came not from foreign enemies, but from former allies and even members of the Russian nobility, who abandoned the Tsar in his hour of need. In July 1918, Nicholas II, his wife, and their children were executed by Bolshevik guards in a cellar in Yekaterinburg. The betrayal of the Romanovs marked the end of centuries of imperial rule and the dawn of a new, tumultuous era in Russian history. It's a stark reminder that, in times of upheaval, loyalty can fade, and those once revered as near divine can be cast aside and destroyed by their own people. What unites these stories, spanning continents and millennia, is the central role betrayal has played in shaping our world. From the Senate floor in ancient Rome to the storming of imperial palaces, from secret letters passed in candlelit rooms to the encrypted messages of modern spies, betrayal is both a catalyst and a consequence of ambition, fear, and the relentless pursuit of power. But why does betrayal so often change the course of history? Because it strikes at the heart of human relationships. Trust. Empires, like individuals, are built on trust, between rulers and subjects, commanders and soldiers, friends and allies. When that trust is broken, the results can be catastrophic and irreversible. Yet, if history teaches us anything, it is that betrayal is not just an act of destruction, it is also an engine of change. The fall of one regime paves the way for another. The end of an era gives birth to new beginnings, new ideas, and new leaders. In many cases, the very betrayals that shattered worlds also set the stage for renewal and transformation. As we look back on these moments, it's easy to condemn the traitors and mourn their victims. But history is rarely so simple. Motives are tangled, loyalties are tested, and the line between right and wrong is often blurred by the passage of time. Each betrayal is a story, a puzzle piece in the grand mosaic of our shared past. So the next time you hear the word betrayal, remember, it is not just a personal failing or a moral flaw. It is a force that has shaped kingdoms, toppled dynasties, and forever changed the story of humanity. If you enjoyed exploring these tales of treachery and want to uncover more secrets from the shadows of history, be sure to subscribe to History Owl and join us for our next deep dive into the world's most compelling stories. History is never just about dates and names, it's about the choices, the risks, and, yes, the betrayals that made us who we are today.